Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast in Wolverine territory. We've been running around the state and finally got locked down on an interview today. And, of course, we're doing this right after our belly's full. Yep. So forgive us, audience, if we struggle through this. I'll tell you what, BC Barnes, I don't know where to start. Joe, is it going to be you? Is it going to be Henry? Who's introducing sort of the all right, Joe, let's go with it. We'll just do a round robin and get everybody on here. That way everybody knows who we're talking to.
All right, perfect. My name is Joe Bontrager, and I'm the current owner of BC Barnes here in Ovid, Michigan. And we like to build sheds here and have fun while we're doing it.
That's right. And then let's see. So Henry is your father, and he's the original.
Yeah, he's the founder of it. He started the company back in '98. I'll let you go from there, Dad.
So you kind of Henry, you were doing regular construction.
Correct. I mean, building construction, most into housing.
Okay.
By the time I started this.
And then at some point, you sort of made a switch to sheds.
Correct. I love building houses. I still do. I love the fine work. Before I moved to Michigan, I used to work for Ashland Furniture in their research development department. We built furniture for the big shows like North Point, High Point, North Carolina, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and so forth. So I love doing that, and so building houses was more my thing because I love the finished work and the fine work of it. But as the kids grew up, I decided to want to do something where I can be home more, and that's where I started doing the sheds.
Yeah, and then we've got Seth. Well, Seth, you've been with the company for quite some time, but just introduce yourself, if you would.
Correct. I'm Seth. I started working for Joe shortly after he took over the company, 11 years ago now, 10, 11 years ago. Yeah. Joe came up to me and asked if I was interested in working for him. I had never even considered the construction industry before then. I was looking at possibly becoming a veterinarian. I had a couple other options, but definitely never looked into anything construction related. But it was definitely the best move of my life, saying yes when Joe asked. And I've been here ever since.
Very cool, man. Like, you guys got a good story. Joe, you're Central Michigan, Lower Peninsula. The company's been around for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
You kind of grew up doing this. You're sort of like that second generation shed builder.
I grew up doing it, having to come home from school and work on sheds. Like me and my older brother, we'd have to shingle them, and that was the easiest. That was the first job that you got, was shingling a shed, and I'd have to hand shingles to my older brother, and he'd get mad at me because I wasn't handing them right. And, so it ended up being more of a yelling fight than arguing than building sheds. But that's back when Dad was just doing it part-time, and he was just kind of getting into it a little bit. But never saw myself owning the company one day and actually enjoying it.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this, on the way back from dinner. So you have an older brother. A lot of people might recognize your older brother. He's in Texas. He's in sheds as well.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Al Bontrager. He's the owner of Silver Creek Structures there. A lot of people from the Facebook shed haulers will know him, or at least know his truck. It's the green Mac, the gray and green Mac that Sam Byler built for him. So it was at the Oklahoma barbecue.
Yeah, I got
year.
To sit in it, dude. That was the coolest thing.
Yeah. That's a sweet truck, isn't it?
Yeah, we did a little video and put it on a Facebook reel because it was just, I don't know, it was surreal. Seeing something like that in that lined up along all the trucks. It was really, for me, it was really easy to pick a favorite out of it. So very cool truck, and so sort of a shed family here, really, in some ways.
All of us. None of us brothers thought that we liked sheds or enjoyed them. And somehow after we became adults, we all got back into it in some way or another, at least for a little bit. So,
Henry, they say, teach them young, and, that won't depart from them. So, it sounds like you really, instilled something in them that surprisingly could come full circle. for them?
Yeah, I wanted something for my children that got a foundation to work with. That didn't necessarily mean they'd had to build sheds when they grew up, but I wanted to have them have a knowledge. I used to say I want them to learn how to learn and have a basis so whatever they step into that they got something to work from.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for them. I got another son right next door that does the big pole barns.
Yeah, well, it's just becoming maybe even, larger than the shed industry and barndominiums and all these different things that you're starting to see with those. Pretty amazing where you're seeing that industry sort of, it almost kind of complements the shed industry.
It does, yeah.
Really, I mean, you have a shed lot that can, sometimes sell multiple items, and one of those might be post frames. Do you guys do any of that here?
We don't, no, but I do get a lot of calls for people asking about pole barns, and so I always refer them to my brother. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a guy.
I tell him he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He'll treat you right. And vice versa. He gets he gets some requests for sheds and stuff, and always gives him my number, so we can kind of build off of each other.
Yeah, it works out perfect. At iFab LLC, our passion is welding, fabricating, and design. That's why in 2015, we began to commercially market our product to the shed, portable building, and mini barn industry. Our product is primarily used to build trusses. Our truss saw system cuts boards in one motion, and our truss press system installs and presses the gusset plates to a finished truss. We custom fabricate jigs that assure perfectly symmetrical truss setup without error. We also have other products designed to help your shed builder increase quality, efficiency, and save money. Our precision door tape will build your custom doors square every time and easily adjust to build any door. For products like these or other custom fabrication services for your barn shop, visit ifabllc.com or call 563-422-7496 or simply email us at ifabllc@gmail.com. So, Seth, tell me you've got like a tenured spot here. We kind of connected over dinner. It was kind of cool because one thing that we share is we served in the military. Both actually went to Fort Leonard Wood, so that's kind of cool.
Yep. Both National Guard.
Yeah, both National Guard. And so that's kind of cool. But you're going to be a vet, and you get pulled into this construction space. And now you've been this loyal employee who's been here for 11 years and, loving what you do. What's the journey been like for you, man, from the start? Like, what's it all look like looking back on it?
It's been crazy. I definitely never saw myself sticking around this long. I know about 2 years in, I was just at a different point in my life where I hated working here. Joe has always been a great boss. It was just my attitude was different towards the job when I first started. And
we were both learning together.
Yep, that's very true. But the older I got, and then the longer Joe and I had worked together, the more I learned to appreciate it. And I looked at other jobs and talked to my other friends and realized like what most bosses were like. And I started to really appreciate the relationship I was able to have with Joe, both professional and outside of work, was something really special that a lot of people really don't have. And I heard all my friends complain about their jobs and how much they didn't like who they were working for and all the issues they were dealing with, and it really changed my perspective working here. And I guess since then every year it just seems easier and like a even better work environment than it was before. And Joe's always working on improving areas too, just to make my life easier. And he's constantly learning, and I've learned so much from Joe. He's an absolute wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, very cool guy. When the first time I met Joe, I stopped through and I was working in the industry and trying to sell him Rent-O-Own. Yeah, at the time, and just sort of that connection. Just BC Barnes, for some reason, that name just sticks for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've probably seen, Lord knows how many shed manufacturers, shed sellers, shed lot names, and different things like that. But for whatever reason, BC Barnes just really rings a bell. And I never knew what it stood for until dinner. But it just always kind of stuck out for some reason. Joe, yeah, what's that mean as a small organization, a small shop, to you and Seth, work together very closely? What does that mean to have like an employee like Seth kind of, give that testimony? You know what I mean? To stick through it and then to turn out to be, something that he really enjoys now and that's fulfilling for him in a career 11 years later. And you guys have pretty much grown up together in this thing.
Well, I've often had the thought that if I could duplicate Seth, I probably wouldn't be building sheds. Neither one of us would be, right?
That's true. That's very true.
We'd have a duplicate, and we could sell Seths, all over the country. And I don't know how often other business owners have told me that they needed a Seth, and I've told them that they needed a Seth. But it's not something that you find. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime thing, I feel like, and our personalities mesh really well. One of the things I'm always afraid that I'm taking unfair advantage over Seth, and he thinks that he's got an unfair advantage, that he's taking an unfair advantage too. And so, I mean, we keep each other's best interests, try to keep each other's best interests in mind, and try to work with each other in that sense. So
I remember getting like some really good advice on friendship, partnerships, marriage, and all that at one point. Somebody told me a long time ago, they said, as long as you feel like what you have, say like in marriage, for instance, as long as you feel like you've always got something you don't deserve and the other person feels that way, then it's going good. It's only whenever you start to feel like you deserve more is whenever things start to go bad. And I think that that'll go beyond just marriage. I think that'll go into partnership. I think that'll go into business and employer relationships and things like that. As long as you feel like, hey, I've got better than I deserve here, you're always going to be thankful, and there's always going to be a way to grow. Henry, like 1999, something like that, right, somewhere around in there when you got started. It's 2023. What does the shed industry look like now compared to when you started?
It's exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I started right here, I used to live up close to Ludington. I did a few sheds up there, but mostly housing. And when I moved to this area, I thought I'd just go into housing, probably build houses, because I love that. And after a year went around, I realized that I'm at home. I wanted to start something that can be at home. And so I built a few sheds, put them out, and just see how they sell, kind of get a feel of the area. There was one other person that was selling sheds from Pennsylvania that was close by. Other than that, there was nobody else at the time. So I tried that, and it kind of rolled over. I said, it's going to go good. And I announced to the neighbor of the church, I says, if I got somebody that wants to help me full time, I'll build a big building, which we have right now. And they said, if somebody wants to go in there and build sheds, I'll do that, because I think we got a business that can go. And so I had two people that wanted to do it. So I ended up hiring both of them. And the kids were still small at the time. So I did that partially for their sake, but also for my sake. I wanted to have a little more time to do ministry. I do local and international ministry. We've done quite a bit of missionary work, so I wanted somebody more free to do that sometimes, or so I want somebody in to help me build. So that's kind of the way it worked, and the kids were underfoot, which was nice. Sometimes they yelled, but otherwise it was too bad, like Joe says. It worked out well.
Did you anticipate it being kind of like what it is today? Like the different things you're seeing, uses for sheds and things like that?
At that time, sheds were not as popular. It was more in Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. A lot of those had bigger shed builders. Here we had a couple others further north. Between here and Ludington was another shed builder. And we had a couple local ones here that, actually three of them I know right offhand, that started and folded up. They just couldn't make it. And actually it was my neighbor that he quit, and when I started he said, if I had to build sheds, I'd starve. And so I just said, well, I made this choice, and the Lord can bless it. If it's the right choice, He'll bless it. And He's blessed it tremendously. I'm just one of those guys that, hey, we'll do it, and if it's going to work and God's going to bless it, He will, and it has. And as far as what it is now, it's that's the next generation, and I guess at that time I was looking at the next generation. I was looking at a 20-year period. When I built, my thing was what it's going to do in 20 years, what can handle in 20 years, and so that's kind of where it went from.
It's selling storage space is sort of a natural fit. And we're Americans, typically like our extra space, our extra stuff. It seems like there's always a reason to have one.
Are you looking for ways to grow your business? Hi there, I'm Chad P. Wilson with MBC and Foundation Bank, and we've been helping small businesses in the shed industry for 33 years. Now in that time, we've helped haulers buy new mules and trailers. We've made it possible for manufacturers and dealers to participate in their own rent-to-own, and have streamlined the manufacturing and sales process with our Insight software. Contact Chuck Robinson to learn more by visiting our website at foundationbank.org. MBC and Foundation Bank are a member FDIC.
I remember building, I think the first shed I owned is one that I actually built myself. So I, too, started working in home construction, and I built for a crew. And I've often said this, and this would go for you and several other builders I've been around. Boy, would it have been nice as a young guy to be under an impressionable crew that had, like, good values, could take you under their wing, supported you, believed in what you did, showed you how to do things. It seemed like I was always working for guys that were, trying to get beer money and see you later on the weekend. And next thing, they came back, and you were never learning, you were never growing, and you certainly wasn't around a group of influence that was helpful, to someone who was young trying to raise a family. So, Seth, you could probably relate to that after 11 years of doing this. I'm sure even in 11 years, you've seen some massive changes just from your perspective on building.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I've learned an insane amount, and then also my confidence in my own abilities has grown a lot because of the encouragement and skills that I've seen that have been shared with me. And then just like every day, every work day, we take a break in the morning, 10 o'clock every morning, have a coffee break and sit down. Joe, myself.
We drink a lot of coffee.
And and then the guy that does gravel pads for Joe's sheds as well. We just sit down and talk about the world's problems and solve a small number of them. And,
That's right. Yeah.
But no, just even from that, like the amount of wisdom and growth, both personally and then as far as like learning about, bettering my skills here, has been astronomical.
So
That's
a cup of
probably
Joe with Joe.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
We're going to get you a sign, It's a cup of Joe time. Yeah.
That's actually probably one of my favorite things is I look forward to it. Most mornings is, just having that 10 o'clock coffee break, and started out as a 10-minute break. And now, years later, it turns into 2 hours some days. But
I tell you what, the days that Joe's out on delivery in the morning, I'm working and it hits 10 o'clock, I can start feeling myself getting sluggish if I don't get that coffee in me. I don't know, it just messes up my whole day.
That's very cool, man. That relationship. I've been around guys that do these kind of things that you guys are talking about. I admire that so much. You know what I mean? Seeing like that community, that friendship, that fellowship that you guys have, and it's just kind of like a brotherhood. It's really cool. It's really awesome. So I'm a bit envious of your cup of Joe time.
Yeah.
Every morning. But and let me get this right. So you're doing 90+% of the sheds that are coming out of this shop by yourself, and you prefer, or I guess maybe prefer to work in that environment. You like the solitude, and
I do. I like being able to push myself, and I find I work well with a lot of people, but I don't always. I don't know. We don't always mesh well. Like you can work well with somebody and make it work, but I find I can push myself a little harder and set goals and accomplish them better when I can just focus on the task at hand and not focus on trying to work around somebody else.
My man, military guy right there.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's motivation for the soul right there, man.
It's worked out really well. I wouldn't change it. I enjoy working with Joe still on occasion. We work well together.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. No, that's very cool.
I do remember when I was younger and working out in the shop with my older brother. and we had a good thing going. And then all of a sudden, the shop door would open up, and here comes Dad. My brother and I would both look at each other, and we're like, "Oh no." Well, we got to let him work a little bit, let him feel good, you know. And Dad just comes out, and he's like, I'm tired of paperwork. I just got to blow some steam. I got to work a little bit. And so Al and I would kind of make a little bit of space for him and, like, pray that he'd leave in half an hour or something. So I always remember that, and I keep that in my mind whenever I go out to the shop and mess things up for Seth. I'm like, I don't want to mess up his routine. I'll tinker on this little thing here, or I'll tinker on that one. Like today, I was touching up a shed a little bit, and I kept on stealing his nail gun and stealing his hammer, and he's looking, you know, around the shop like, where'd my hammer go? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I took it. It's up here on the shed roof. You know, but he gives me the grace. So
Dad said, I'm tired of doing this paperwork. Yeah. And he comes out there, and after about 30 minutes of sweating and heavy lifting and grunting, it's like, you know what, boys, I got some paperwork that I need to get done ASAP. This is just, you know, I tried taking a break to come out here and help you guys out and let you get caught up, but I got some serious work I got to do in there. So I would imagine for you, Henry, it's different seeing, like, was equipment different for shed delivery sort of when you were doing this?
Yes, and one of the reasons I actually retired this early when I did is buildings were getting bigger, more builders coming in building bigger sheds, and we had our 20-foot trailer, 22-foot trailer, I forget what it was.
The 20-foot, yeah.
Yeah, and I just said, well, it looks like we have to switch to bigger trailers, you know, and stuff like that, other equipment, because, you know, by that time
mules had come out by then.
Yeah, and the mules came out and stuff, and I says, you know, I don't want to, if I reinvest in new equipment, which is kind of we need to go, if we want to continue, I'll kind of almost have to be in there another 10 years to make it affordable, you know, kind of get my money back. And I told the boys, hey, if anybody wants to take the business on, you know, now's a good time. The housing market was coming back strong. Building was coming back strong. I says, we're at a good, it's coming back good. I says, if you guys want to get into it, now's the time. If you don't want to get into it, I'm going to let it run to the ground, so to speak. I'm not going to go with big equipment. I just don't want to go another 10 years, you know, at least 10 years. So if they want to do it, then they can get the equipment they want, you know, and go with that. And so, you know, he on and finally Joe said, okay, I'll do that.
After Mom even twisted my arm on that.
Yeah. And so
I complied finally.
Yeah. You were voluntold.
I was voluntold.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it went from there to here. You know, it just I got to the point where it says, you know, we either have to keep up with industry, what's going around us, or then just I could have made a living myself and come out well, just wrapped it up and be done with it. Or like Joe, if you want the opportunity, go in and step in it and keep on going. I felt it would be another opportunity. And he took that, you know, what he had.
Looking to grow your shed business this year? Say goodbye to the struggle of day-to-day management. Shed Suite has you covered. With Shed Suite, you'll get access to a full e-commerce suite for your shed business. That includes customizable dealer websites, real-time inventory management, streamlined quote and order flow, and robust analytics and reporting. What's more, Shed Suite was designed specifically for shed manufacturers and dealers by experienced shed builders just like you. With low-cost merchant accounts and integrated payments, Shed Suite makes selling sheds a total breeze. Ready to get started? Our team is excited to help you grow your shed business through 2023 and beyond. If you're looking to scale up and automate your shed business, book a demo now at shedsuite.com. Are you coming to this year's Shed Builder Expo at the Knoxville Convention Center on September 27th and 28th? If so, be sure to stop by the Shed Suite booth and meet our friendly team and get an in-person demo of the Shed Suite platform. And don't forget to enter to win some incredible giveaways. We'll see you there.
Shannon, you were asking about the equipment differences. Dad, remember what's the most memorable delivery that you had?
Oh, the most memorable one. That was still in Ludington.
That was in Ludington before we did it full time.
Yeah, I used to build houses, more log homes.
And keep in mind that we were practicing Amish. We
Yeah,
were,
right.
we were an Amish family, so we didn't have our own
Right.
delivery rig.
Okay.
So I had a trailer, tilt bed trailer, and which was mechanical because I wanted to have it so it could be used wherever it pulls it.
It's just a little 16-foot car hauler, right?
Yeah, and the
That's it.
max length was 16 footers at the time.
Yeah.
When I was up there, and so we had this one guy. He wanted to all my haul. Now you don't get anybody else. I can do everything, you know. And so of course his truck breaks down. This breaks down. That breaks down. One time he was late. He said, "Hey, this shed's got to be hauled. Are you coming up? Are you showing up?" Yeah. I'll get one of my friends. He's got a vehicle. He comes, shows up with a Mustang.
Yeah.
What?
A Mustang.
And we pulled 8x12 shed with a 60-foot trailer on a Mustang. With a Mustang.
Yep.
And we got pulled over.
Give them the rundown on the ticket.
I'd hate to think you didn't. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so I think I haven't ever heard anything like it. Like delivering an 8x12 with a Mustang.
Yeah.
And it has been done.
And
Wow.
you were sitting in the back seat, right?
No, it was Al. Yeah, my
It was
older
a
brother.
little kid, you know, sitting in the back seat, and of course the lights go on, and I saw the cop sit in the corner. We passed, and of course there's no mirrors to see around the back hardly, you know they're a little narrow. And I saw something flashes. I think
No extended mirrors on the
No,
Mustang.
no,
Is that what you
no.
guy are telling me? What's Ford doing over
Yeah.
there? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here?
If I remember right, was it an 80s or a 70s Mustang?
Well, it would have been a
a
70s
kid,
Mustang. Yeah,
yeah.
it was an old one.
It was a pretty old one. Like
It's like
beat
a
up.
four-banger? I mean, like, what was...
Yeah, the old. It was pretty loud.
It was, yeah, I'm not sure if it had I imagine probably a 6-cylinder, but I don't know.
Wow.
Anyway, we got to get our seatbelts on and stuff. You know, the guy and his buddy, because he wasn't driving. He got his buddy. It was his buddy.
Well, he had lost his license, right?
Yeah.
So he had to get his buddy. He had to get his buddy to drive.
So that's how we started, okay? Anyway, he comes walking up, and the driver says, "I'm dead. I'm dead." And the officer says, "What do you mean you're dead?" "I'm done." And so I only got 1 point left, or whatever it was.
Oh,
license.
on his license.
Yeah, and so he tells me, so he said the trailer's good. I checked the license on the trailer. It was my trailer. "That's good. That your trailer?" Is "Yeah, but I don't know about the car here, you know, whatever." So he says, "Can I talk with you?" And so I get out and walk around the back, and I said, officer said, I know it looks kind of stupid, but these guys are kind of hard up. And he kind of almost had to, you could see he was like almost chuckling. And he walks back and he says, "I'll get you for the little kid in the back not having a seatbelt, because that won't count toward your point, but I'll just let you go with the rest of it. But get the thing
Wow.
off the road." So let us go.
Because you didn't have any trailer lights. You didn't have a trailer or no lights.
No
on it.
connectors on it. Of course, it
Yeah.
was daylight, but still no blink, no lights to turn. That's why he pulled us over, because he was following us, made a left turn. There was no lights, so he pulled us over for the lights.
Wow. Man, have things changed so much. There's a shed hauler out there saying, "I know that guy."
Yeah.
You know, somewhere. I've seen that guy. We tried.
It's the I can do it cheaper guy, right?
It's the I can do it cheaper guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then we before I had my own rig, we used to use our tractor to haul for quite a bit. So when we started here, I had a tractor. I pulled the tractor up to 10 miles. I made deliveries up to 10
Wow.
miles with my tractor. I had a pretty
Forgot about
fast
that.
tractor. Had a high range gear on it.
You were
So-
telling me about that. You said there was a customer who came back, a repeat customer who came back, and at the time you were practicing Amish, and then you hadn't
back
been.
later.
Whenever he came back the second time, he's trying to convince you. There's an Amish guy delivered my shed with a trailer last time.
Yeah, it's like I got this shed from this place here, but the guy that owned it before, apparently, because this Amish guy. And I said, "So this Amish guy delivered with the tractor?" He said, "Yeah, that was me." He just looked at me. "No, it can't be you." Of course, by that time we had a nice new truck and nice rigs and stuff,
So a beautiful story. Absolutely love that. But I've heard tell a story about a shed that fell apart completely altogether.
Did Joe say that?
Well, I don't know the details on it, so I was kind of hoping that you'd fill in the pieces of the
Well, I
story.
can tell my version of it.
Okay.
We're building on the outside before we built this big building here. Because I give it a shot one year, says, "How is this going to work?" We had a small barn. We worked it, but we had to build it on the outside, all the cutting inside, just to get a feel for it. And I was going somewhere, and had all the parts cut and everything until the boys put it together. They got it together and put the rafters on, but somehow they didn't put, I forget what it was, they didn't have it braced up anyway. Yeah. And they were not the usual way we did it. No, they're going to do it fast and furious, right?
It was actually a new style for us, for my brother and I. Now, keep in mind that I was 10 at the time. My brother was 13, and he was my 13-year-old was a foreman.
In other words, they should have known.
Yeah.
They're cutting corners, right? I mean, as far as we're going to get this done fast and go play, right?
Well, what it was is that it was a different style, and we didn't know how to build the end walls. So we built the side walls.
That's what it was.
And we were stuck. So we thought, well, hey, let's throw the roof on it at least. Maybe Dad will be home by then. So we put up all the rafters, and it was, with just sidewalls and no bracing on the end, it doesn't take much to fold those sidewalls over. We were putting on the very last piece of OSB on the roof, and I'm on the very ridge, a knee on each side. My older brother, he was down on a ladder and handing me the pieces. I was just nailing the last piece, and I said, hey, this thing's kind of wobbly. And he's like, don't shake it. I'm like, huh? I'm shaking it, and his ladder goes flying out because the walls fall apart. I go flying down, 8 feet down, sitting on the ridge, and landed. And the way I remember it, that's the only day that we walked off the job. The first and last day, but we didn't even get yelled by it. The worst part was when Dad got home. He thought it was so funny. He gets the camera out and he starts taking pictures. So we do have photographic evidence of this.
We need to get our hands on these photos. I'm curious.
We had a friend of ours, Jamie Perry, that came by just as it happened. And that was the reason they walked off right away, because he drove in the driveway and they want to get away before he comes up and laughs at him, because he's the one that would really laugh at him.
Could you imagine a customer showing up to purchase a shed about that time? It's like, hold on, we'll be right down.
Yeah.
We're here to help. Beautiful story. Good memory for a father and son. It's one of those things that you can carry on for a long time. I'm reminded of like that. It's similar, but have you seen that video, Joe, where like those folks are at Home Depot? I think they are loading a shed, and they go to roll it onto, I think it's like a trailer.
Yeah, a little utility trailer.
Yeah, and then it just comes over the other side and bloop, just falls completely apart.
I've thought about our shed.
I'm seeing that image in my head.
Yeah.
Seth, did you know about these stories?
Oh, yeah. I've heard them many times.
Okay. Is this like quality control meetings where they're like, let me give you the list of do's and don'ts?
Oh, yeah. I always put the end walls on before I put the roof sheet on.
Yeah.
Like I said, Joe's taught me a lot of things.
A trial and error, right, Joe?
Exactly. I'll learn from others' mistakes.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, it's the best way to learn. It's a lesson you can learn, and you didn't have to experience it. So that's always good. Gosh, what a really cool moment. These are really some of the coolest times that I get to experience by visiting folks in shed manufacturing and sales and hauling. And you guys kind of do all that. It's a bit vertically integrated to some extent. You outsource some of your, different things that are necessary to keep you going. But Joe, generally speaking, you're like, hey, we're a small mom and pop shed builder, shed organization. We have been for 25 years, and we own it, and we like it. And we don't necessarily have our eyes set on this massive expansion program where we enjoy what we do. We like what we do. What's sort of your thoughts behind that? What drives that for you guys?
Yeah. Well, back in 98, when Dad built the shop, I remember him saying something along the lines that, hey, this is as big as it's going to get. He doesn't want to he just wants to build the sheds that he can inside the shop. He doesn't want to add on. And I was satisfied with that as a kid, as a teenager. And then when I took over, I was like, you know what? Dad made it work. I should be able to make it work too. So that's what I did. And before, or about the time that Seth came on, I had hired another friend of mine and then a couple of my brothers. And at one point in time, we had about five or six of us in here. And we did a lot more sheds then, but one of the things that I couldn't do anymore, the first thing to go was doing the building. I couldn't do all the building anymore or be in the shop every day. So I was stuck behind the computer, taking calls, doing sales. I was still doing some deliveries, but finally it got to the point where I couldn't deliver all of them. So I hired my father-in-law to deliver them. And that was really hard for me. Deliveries are probably my favorite part of the job, handing the customer the keys at the very end. And they waited for the shed. Some people, I've had customers that came back, they had been looking for a shed for 5 years. And they've been in contact with me for 5 years. And then they finally pull the trigger on it. And those are very satisfying to deliver to those customers, because it's like, hey, they've saved up for years for this building. They've dreamt about it, and you hand them the keys, and you just see the smile on their face.
And trusted you with that decision, over that time.
Yeah. So my father-in-law was doing the deliveries, and that was a little bit harder for me because I enjoyed that part. And I forget when it was, about 2015 or something like that. My younger brothers decided to go out and do pole barns. And so then that left me and Seth in the shop and my father-in-law delivering. And after another year or so, I was like, hey, told my father-in-law that I can take care of the deliveries now. And he wanted to spend more time with his kids too. He's got some younger kids, and my mother-in-law was getting into real estate and stuff. So he was staying at home with the kids, and so it worked out good for all of us. And so then it just dropped down, from about 6 of us down to 2 of us. And I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it more than I did with more people. One of the things that we did add to our arsenal was getting a site prep guy. And it's not in-house, so that's a separate business. That's Levi is his name. That's his business. I helped him a little bit, getting started a little bit. And so it's really nice having, that's something that Dad had talked about doing back in the 90s already, is doing site preps, but you can only handle so much, especially being a smaller company. And but the site preps are something that I really believe in. It just increases the longevity of the shed, especially with all the frost heave that we have here in Michigan. Setting them on blocks, there's still people that do them, mostly out-of-state builders that bring them in. They'll set them on blocks, but you can't tell me that if there's 3 doors on the shed that there isn't one sticking. When the frost heaves and stuff like that. With the gravel pad, I haven't had any issues with that. I've gone back and moved them 10 years later, and they've settled maybe half an inch into the gravel. And the siding looks so much better underneath. There's no mold growing underneath the floor because it's up off the ground a little bit, and it provides sufficient draining and stuff like that as well. But it dresses up the building, and the customer really like it a lot better too, that they can purchase the site prep right here, and they don't have to contact another company. They don't have to, arrange that. So I'm very appreciative that Levi could do that for us, and that we could offer that to our customers.
Hello, shed sellers. Did you catch the latest Real Work Labs interview with George Converse? If not, don't miss this value-packed episode. Head to Shed Geeks Podcast YouTube and search Real Work Labs. George and the Real Work Labs crew are riding the wave of Google's latest updates, taking your digital presence to the next level. We're tech artisans crafting your neighborhood brand voice for shed sellers like you to stand out, gain trust, and get found online. Our software will easily capture your work snapshots, videos, weave your craft's story, and get reviews all in one virtual experience. Our innovation goes beyond getting found for your business location, rather getting found for your work locations. Reviews intertwine with their corresponding job sites. When potential customers seek local expertise, you're the proven solution they'll find. It's high time to map your reviews and showcase your beautiful work in a meaningful way that builds trust in customers' neighborhoods. Ready for the journey? Visit shedgeek.realworklabs.com or call George today at 480-787-7575. Real Work Labs, elevating your trust, increasing your conversions, and getting you found where you work in the neighborhoods you serve, one shed at a time. Very cool. Having that additional benefit. We interviewed, I think it was John, and I'm going to say his last name wrong, Diener. It's D-I-E-N-N-E-R. I can't remember. I'm always going to say it the wrong way. John My apologies.
Yeah.
But Site Prep, he does that in, Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
And, just listening to kind of his breakdown of the value add there by having, Site Prep done professionally.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I thought it was really cool. And, I would imagine with the frost you guys get here, you just have to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, very cool. BC Barns, man, what's it gonna be in the future? It's come a long way, Henry, but I mean, what do you think? All these years later, what's your thoughts on it in its current status, and then where it's going to fit in because of where the shed industry's going? What do you think? You said the last 10 years it's blew up. What do you think the next 10 years holds?
I see the edge we have, or we had. It's been a while since Joe took over. When I saw what other builders came in, a lot of them were mass producers, and they got a lot of lots sitting around the area. I saw two advantages. One, people like to see the person that's going to build them. They can talk to the person that builds them. They have some kind of confidence, but not just that. So many times they want something special on there, like a special order thing. They might move into a subdivision that requires certain shingles, a certain siding, all that kind of stuff. It's got to match, and we were a person that could do that. And I saw that as more shed builders came in, we were building more specialty sheds, that weren't just off the lot, which they could go to somebody locally and get it, which helped us. And as far as the future goes, as I said to Joe, it's his now, and he can do with what he wants. I brought it this far. It's his, and what he does with it is his. I got nothing to do with it. And at first he used to say, it's time that the kids are the head and I'm the tail. And I got to the point he says, it's time the tail's cut off. So that's where I'm at now.
Well, it's good to be able to step away and sort of let them cast vision for that. What's that vision, Joe? Where are you going to go with it?
I really enjoy it. It'd be cool. I've got a 5-year-old daughter now, and it'd be cool if someday, I keep on telling her that maybe someday she'll be delivering the sheds for me. And she goes on a lot of shed deliveries with me and spends time with me during the day like that. I've got great memories of going along with my dad and older brother delivering sheds, and even when I think I got my learner's permit just before I turned 16, and I was delivering wide loads on a learner's permit, so I was doing that at 15, 16 years old, and as soon as I got my full license, Dad sent me down the road with my younger brother, and so I've got great memories growing up doing it, and it'd be very cool to see my daughter getting into it, but if she doesn't decide to do that, then that's up to her. But I enjoy what I'm doing, and I'll keep on doing it as long as Seth wants a job. And if he ever quits, I don't know what I'll do then, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So
the beauty of having like that smaller organization is you can move so much quicker on things like that. You talked over dinner about being able to meet the customer whenever they come in, or how if you're online or however you're communicating with them. But then you're also the guy handing them the keys at the end whenever you deliver it, and what that means to a customer. What is sort of your customer philosophy? What do you want a customer to know whenever they show up to BC Barns or buy a shed from BC Barns?
The first thing that I want the customer to know is that we want to help them get the shed that they want. I never go out or approach a customer thinking this is the shed that they need. I'll just listen to what they want and what can fit in their yard and what their vision is, and then make that dream come true. So my take on everything is that we can't have the whole pie, but we can have a little sliver of it. And our sliver is we're small, we're local, and it's almost as small as you can get it. The person that answers the phone and answers the emails and sets the prices is the one that they meet when they come out, and I help build a little bit on it, not as much as I used to, but every once in a while I'll build a shed by myself. I mean, maybe once or twice a year, and just to make sure that I can still do it. I still got to prove myself. But then I also deliver it.
Seth was reaching for something to throw at you, but there's nothing over here. He was.
I got to say that I got to tell Seth that I do it on the weekend, so he's not around when I do that. So that's how he doesn't know.
But when I started this business, when I built this, my thing was we're not just building a business. We want to build friendships. We want a good product that lasts and friendships that last. And so, for me, this business is not just about money. Yes, we God bless us. We made a good living, and I could retire early and have time for minister other projects. It's worth it if you have a business where you got satisfied customers. To me, that's the icing on the cake.
You're speaking from perspective of somebody who shares your heart and sentiments in that process, Henry, that just wanted to do something I enjoyed, really find contentment in that. And you were talking earlier, and you said, we're small, we're local, but you're content.
Yeah.
Also happy, and you're satisfied with what you do. And sometimes that speaks a language that not everybody understands, but seeking contentment can be happiness.
Yeah.
You can find your happiness in that. And honestly, do a great job. Made an impression on me the first time I stopped by. And me and you've talked at the Shed Expo since then, and just, I'd love to communicate with you more and stay connected and things like that. Seth, I don't know, man. What do you think? 11 years in this thing, you got 11 more years in you?
I think I have at least 2 or 3 more years in this back.
Okay.
We'll see. But
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I've told myself several times this is going to be my last year. I can't do this forever. And then I think about the changes that would require in leaving this environment, and I can't handle the thought of that, honestly.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
29.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's that you're driving, day in and day out. It's, you're working hard, and, certainly takes a toll on your body after a while.
It does.
You want to take care of yourself, and, I think there's a lot of room for that conversation for growth in the industry whenever we talk about things like automation and, trying to, how does that work for a smaller operation versus a larger operation? Are we putting out mass products? Are we, there's a lot of conversation for it, but kudos to you, man, for 11 years and being 29 and just getting through those early years of immaturity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
And not recognizing something, because I struggled with those things myself and didn't always stick to it. So
It definitely wasn't easy, but it's the best thing I've ever done.
yeah.
And Joe's done a really good job of changing things out in the shop to make my life easier as well. He built a gantry crane wall lift. What was that? 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it was January. Was it this past January or the January before last? It was actually, yeah. It was. It wasn't this past January.
Little things like that, to where if he's not around to help me set up the walls, I don't have to struggle with them by myself. I can just hook it up and use a hoist, and that's made my life so much easier. Just little areas like that have enabled me to stick with this longer.
Has products changed much in those 11 years, or has customizations changed much that you can really tell in that time?
Customization's changed a lot. We've gone through we're on our 3rd different siding now.
Yeah.
But so products have changed a little bit and have definitely gotten easier to work with. The ease of use, and then obviously the longevity has gotten so much better. But the products we're working with now, as opposed to when we started, it helps me love my job a lot more when the products are easy to work with. And with using mostly LP products, they're so easy to use.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see some of the most value in, how do I say this? What the shed industry can do, what guys like myself can do that's talking to different manufacturers. What are things that we can do that add value to a shed manufacturer, someone who's out there doing the work day in and day out? And maybe not me specifically, but just in general, what are areas that the shed industry can do, and what are areas that it can improve that makes things easier for you? Is it equipment? Is it product?
I would say both those have been huge. I don't really think about a lot beside building sheds. I don't have to a lot of the time, because Joe goes out and does research on new equipment, on new product. And when he's told me multiple times, hey, we're going to switch to this, or we're going to start using this machine. And at first it seems like it's going to change things 'cause obviously it's going to get me out of my routine. I like my routine. But then as I get used to it, I can appreciate the time and energy he spent on researching, because his time has made my life much easier with the improvements he's made.
It's a cool story, man. The whole story of BC Barnes, like where it was and where it is and where it's going, it's just a cool story. And you guys are like some of the most down to earth. You're like my people. Like I just want to hang around with you guys all day long. I want to come up and have a coffee time with Joe.
Hey, do that.
You know what I mean? Like that'd be cool. Break out a Bible study or something. Who knows? You know what it turns into.
Yep. It does happen that, I mean, sometimes like my pastor shows up sometimes and he's like, hey, what are we talking about this morning? I'm like, what you got, Pastor Jerry?
Right,
and
We actually did that when we first started this up. We had this office here, and I had, besides the 2 full-time guys, I used to have some part-time guys that needed work. One was a missionary that came in from Africa, and others that just needed part-time, I'd bring them in. And every Monday morning, we'd have a paid Bible study and go over the week of what's happening, and everybody share stuff. Because I wasn't here all the time, and I told them everybody is obligated to come because they're on the time clock. And so the ones that, and so it was good. And it paid back. It always paid back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fellowship for for that fellowship and friendship, camaraderie among men. Yeah. It's certainly needed. You know what I mean? And it's a safe work environment and just a cool space to be in. And I salute you guys for what you're doing, man. I hope you guys solve some more of the world's problems from right here in Ovid, Michigan, and appreciate you guys letting me get to be a small part of just sort of what you guys do and tell your story. Wasn't as bad as you think, right? It's pretty easy to sit down and,
conversation.
Man, it's just a conversation. I tell people it's like a campfire storytelling. It's like putting a microphone in front of a questionnaire interview. So try to keep it really simple. Doing cool things over at Shed Geek Podcast. I hope you guys are following along. Joe, you're a regular listener. Seth done told on you, said he comes in on Wednesdays and you're always listening. And I can't say thank you enough, man. I appreciate,
I really enjoy the podcast. You put out some good content, and I always love the humor too and all the stories.
For sure. Yeah, man. I always say God gave us a sense of humor, and if we can't laugh, man, I don't know. Like I would be miserable. So if it's laughing at myself and not the expense of others, I'll be glad to do it and have others laugh at me or with me, whichever you choose. So, Henry, you care to just kind of, we're a fan of prayer here. We're a fan of, speaking about the gospel and just all that Jesus has done for us. And, we know that some people, say it's best to shy away from that, but I just can't really, feel like that's part of who I am. So I don't really feel like I can, so if that limits my potential, then so be it. But it's served me better to continue to do it. So we're a fan of prayer. I don't know if I'm intrusive or to ask you or not, but would you care to just kind of close us in prayer?
Sure. All right. Okay, loving Father, I thank you so much for the privilege you had to be together and just chat, have this little campfire chat. I pray, Lord, that as we go about our ways and all the ones that are listening in, that they can grasp the love and that you have for them, that can be passed on to either their employees or to their customers or to the owners and co-owners, that can be the central part. But we know, Lord, that you came here to give your life for us, and we appreciate that. And Lord, help that we can also, Lord, have your testimony in our heart of what you've done for us, that it can carry out to those around us, that they can feel that also. And as the shed industry grows larger, Lord, that we can see, Lord, the value of customer satisfaction connections, that it's not just about making money, it's about making friends. I just thank you, praise the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Man, you guys are some of the coolest people to be around. I wish we could move Ovid, Michigan, a little closer to Metropolis, Illinois.
Yeah.
It would be a blast.
We're fine staying here.
Yeah.
Not moving towards Illinois. Michigan's bad enough.
Yeah, no, believe me, I understand. Maybe we can move that closer this way.
All right, There we go.
Appreciate you guys being on here today. It's been an honor to speak with you today, so appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.